visualised. You haven't been visualised. So I can assume you're going to use a photograph which defines Cherry on her wedding day, or a picture of your rural farm. I don't give a fuck. But you've got to tell the people, this is the person who found me on the street who thought I was
Well, I'm Cherry Carter, and if you want to see me, I have my own channel, Cherry Carter.
No, I'm not prepared
on
to
YouTube.
do that.
So,
no.
I had a little dog.
Well, I will tell them. I'll just tell them. Otherwise, you won't put the photographs on the thing.
Of course I will.
You can't gag me on what I say on that thing.
Of course I'm going to put the photographs up. Of course I will. I've got nothing to hide. I'm not embarrassed.
Well, you talk about me saying AIDS needs to go on the fucking... Your wedding needs to go on the social history document.
Oh, that'll come.
Oh, that'll come, she says. Yeah, oh yeah. When you can step out of the shadows of yesteryear.
So, what do you remember when we met?
A dog rub. I remember saying to the lady at Gaggle Geese, I'm not going to have a cup of coffee. That was the incident when you heard me say to him.
But that wasn't the first time we met you.
Well, you tell me your memory.
Okay, so what happened?
I meet 1,000 people down the street, Cherry.
Yeah, of course you do.
I remember you the day I stood my ground with that woman who came out. You're going to buy a cup of coffee? You can't sit there.
You know everyone.
And what?
You know everyone.
No, they know me.
That's a point. You know a lot of people in town because you stand out in a crowd. So we were lined up at IGA to pay for our goods. When you were talking, you were flapping your hands around, you were being animated, and you went out of the shop and someone started calling, David, you left your bag here. And so you came back and you collected your bag that you'd left. And then when we went out, you were sitting on the bench outside IGA and you were talking to our little dog, Millie. That's how we met.
Millie also approached me when you and Brian were past the door of the Gaggle and Geese shop, right?
Yep.
She came out of the door.
Yep.
She confronted me. I stood my ground. Brian stayed back. No, when you moved, the moment you moved, Millie moved towards me. Now, Millie got to me quicker than you.
Yep.
So you saw that Millie had found a dog-friendly person.
Yep.
Brian stayed back the other side of the door because when you sit down, you say, are you a thespian? Have you got something on?
That's right.
And I said, well, she said, my name is Cherry. That's Brian, my friend. Brian, my friend, you went like that over your left shoulder. We're having a separation at the moment.
Yep.
That was when you were coming up and going back and coming up and going back.
Yeah.
Right?
So, well, I remember. So, yeah, we had that brief interaction because something made me want to ask if you were a thespian. So when we first met you, I thought...
Not a lesbian, a thespian.
A thespian.
Yeah, thespian, okay. People won't know what that fucking word is, do you?
Your mannerisms and your tone of voice and all that told me that you weren't your usual bush sort of swagman living around here. So when I asked you, you told me you saw Eartha Kitt at the Palais. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Is that true? You saw Eartha Kitt?
I saw Eartha Kitt in New Faces in the film called New Faces 1951.
Batwoman. So that's how we got talking, and the Gaggle of Geese thing was your struggle against law and order. You decided...
No, that bitch pushing me around.
You decided to revolt and refuse to move when the woman came out and told you you can't sit on those chairs unless you buy something.
I said, I pay for the pain, but they've got the chairs on.
So that was...
Now, dear, you know in the second one, there is some blips?
Yeah, I put blips in.
Oh, you put the blips in?
Yeah, because your language is blue. You got a potty mouth.
What did you edit?
Oh, you were talking about men doing things with their male men bits.
Oh, Cherry, how naive you are.
YouTube, no, it's not me. YouTube may not like that.
Well, let him decide, not you. You're being moralistic, just like your Catholic past.
I'm being a censor.
Oh, you're being up yourself.
So, I suppose the thing that really clicked with you and me was Trish's coffee lounge.
Well, that's when I said that. I said that same time Thursday, and I said, no, I haven't. I said, I have done some theatre. And it was at the same time as that incident, because the next time we met, which as I remember, was outside Merle's, and you sat down beside me. What will we have? Brian was going to go and get it. He went away and he said, I started in transition when I was 35. And you could trust me, you knew I'd understand what you were talking about. I didn't have to say, what's transition, darling?
Yeah.
Because once we established outside Gaggle and Geese, I'm not a thespian, I was a teacher. However, I have done stage work. Where, you said, I said, I performed at Trish's Cafe. Oh, I've been to Trish's Cafe with a girlfriend.
Well, I think the viewers need to know that in all my decades, I'd never met anyone that knew the name Trish's Cabaret. So maybe you'd like to describe what Trish's...
Well, that's right. I can talk about that. I don't want. See, when you said, I know AIDS has to go onto the thing. Like, I was there when Nellie had the thing. I was invited in the 90s to give a lecture at La Trobe University on the sociology of AIDS, and I did it, okay? So that's 15 years of my life, from beginning through to a lecturate training, eat your heart out, Dennis Altman.
Right.
Okay? I haven't told you, there's been no reason to talk about it, Cherry.
Well, are you going to tell the viewers
exactly what I want to tell them.
Well, tell them what Trish's is.
I will.
To set the context.
I will.
Who is Trish?
I'll tell him his name was John Barry. He's dead now. He won a Life Achievement Award.
Right.
For services to the gay and cross-dressing community.
Yeah.
What are they? The Seahorses.
Yeah.
See, there's a language, there's a subculture language. People say, oh, she's a seahorse. What in the fuck's that? A seahorse is a man who likes to dress as a woman.
And you know why they...
Because seahorses reproduce themselves. They don't have to fuck.
Yeah, but isn't a seahorse able to change its gender?
Yeah, it doesn't experience intercourse.
Right.
It's able to reproduce its own species itself. It doesn't need intercourse with another of its species.
Right.
So, when you become a transgressor, you become a unique person. There's never going to be another person like that cross-dressing individual.
Sure.
And what it meant was, because a man became a woman, he declared that he was versatile, top or bottom or both.
But how did you know John?
Who?
You.
I banged on the door and said, what are you doing here? Well, what happened was, okay, now, Bruce had a friend at Mount Eliza, Cherry Borthwick, right? She's a very important socialite in Melbourne history. Massively, he married the doctor who came with the Olympic team from America in 1956. She was a superstar of Melbourne society. Bruce and she were great mates because they had no male in the family, and Bruce cultivated her father and helped him he became a factotum to the household. I.e., can you fix this up please, Bruce, the water system? Can you fix up the air? Can you broken down? Can you do this? And Bruce became a handyman to the family, so she came to town because she was, what was she in town for? Oh, because we were then living at the Crystal Palace, not at my house, that's right. She came to that's right, when she had to see the taxation man, so and I talked about it. She said, what goes? I said, I'd like to go. I said, well, Trish, Sherry, I don't know what her name's Sherry. It's like your name, Cherie.
All right.
That one.
Yep.
Is that Sherry? Sherry?
Yeah, kinda.
Kinda, that's
Sherry.
right.
Yep.
So she and I went down and banged on the door. You go in off the thing. And so John came to the door. He said, hello, how are you? I said, hello, I've often passed here and I've seen the girls and Cherry has too. We don't know what this is about because it's during the day. It's never open. He said, well, if you want to be properly dressed, that's what he said, properly dressed, you can come down here any night time, and we have a show on Friday and Saturday night, and you're welcome inside. So welcome to be part of it. Now, there was part of her moving from Seahorse into Open Culture Door, because she protected that venue for 15 years of the 30 years that she was there, was Seahorses only. You couldn't get in. It was Melbourne Seahorse Club, but we didn't call itself, it was the Trish's. And she only had, it was only in the middle of her life that she started the stage and the thing. She just opened it as a cafe. She rented it as a home, and then she turned it into a theatre.
Did she have money?
She was married, darling. She had a son. I think I never asked her, how did you do it? I think in her she'd been in theatre, and she'd been to America as a dancer in the stage, right? Then, you know, you don't stay a fairy forever. Once she was a high-kicking thing, you know, like chorus line stuff. I think she inherited some money from an aunt, because Gay bought, you know, where you have single aunts that have no children, they select a nephew, an aunt, a cousin, a niece, who's their favourite. I think he got some money, he separated from his wife and family, and he moved into North Melbourne, and rented that thing with a view to setting it up. So the money that he got, I think that was because he didn't have any money. He was a drunk. He used to go to the big market, and the first thing he'd bring home a slab, and he'd get pissed. I met him 3 times up at the Flagstaff Gardens. He was so pissed he couldn't get off the dunny seat. I met him at the North Melbourne Bog 3 times with the door open. Drunk. I didn't recognise him on both. I didn't say, hello John, hello Trish. I knew who he was, he knew who I was. I didn't moralise. So that was one of our principles of affection. However, I didn't go to the awards ceremony, but he rang me to say, David, this is when that shearer up at Bendigo was pissed off with him. Trish got the award. She rang me and said, I won an award last night, the annual awards from the LGBT at the Palais Theatre. I said, how wonderful, Trish, you deserve it. So, she rang me. She always wanted to get me into bed, darling.
Of course.
A victory trophy.
Only human.
Victory trophy. Anyway, so we can go on and on and on. I want to know, yes, you're going to put some photos. If I talk about how we know each other, how long have I got? 15 minutes or something? Talk about you and Trish and...
I've got as long as you want, really. I'll just edit it.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And leave the language in. Let them take it out.
You know, that language is okay. I don't think we should be describing sexual acts.
That's your point of view, fucking bitch. What a moral attitude. You're still like bloody Roman Catholic Church. George Pell's dead, darling. Get real. I think you shouldn't be what an audacity, Cherry Carter. Borthwick. No. Lauder.
Yep.
So Cherry came that night. No, she wasn't that night. She came up one Friday night, and she was going to stay when she was staying with her lover, Roman Turak. Because her mother was in the house down at Denniston, where they made... See, after the Yanks came here, dip, America found Australia. What did they do? They sent Burnt Lancaster out and Ava Gardner to do On the Beach.
Yeah, no,
right?
Yeah.
And they stayed in Cherry's house.
All right. In Frankston.
No, Mount Eliza, darling.
Right, brilliant.
Up on the hill.
Yeah.
They'd had a 3-acre block, darling, looking straight across the bay to Melbourne. They're multi-millionaires. The father was a member of the Melbourne Club. Right. You bumped into the Trish bit of my life where I haven't talked about the Mount Eliza a lot. Amanda Ridgway, the one Hardy Brothers from Collins Street, the diamond, the diamond bill of Gina Reinhardt's.
Yeah, but what about, were they welcoming?
Who?
when you got to Trish's and you said you tap on the door,
Oh,
I want
yeah.
to see what's going on. You weren't dressed as a seahorse, I take it.
No, we just went in as civvies.
Right.
But in fairness to her role in helping civvies be secure in coming out publicly and meeting each other, she had to be a gatekeeper as to who she let in and out. So she didn't hesitate. If someone turned up she didn't know, she'd call the police and ask them to leave the premises.
Right, yeah.
I'd like you to leave, if you don't, I'll call the police. So she was very, very careful of maintaining the privacy, even though she went public.
Sure.
See, if she finished in 95, so 30 years. Now what is it? 95, 85, 65 she started. The beginning of you were 5 years of age when she when she went there to live. I don't know when she opened Trish as a cabaret.
Right.
But she got the award for 30 years of service to the Seahorse community and the gay and lesbian community. There wasn't an LGBT community before the AIDS crisis. That term was never used. It wasn't used it was Burner Bra, Women's Electoral Lobby. Mm. When did LGBTQI come up as an international code?
I don't think it was that long ago. I think 20 years ago or something.
Trish was there long before LGBTQ was mentioned.
Yeah.
And she never thought she was queer. She just thought she was individual.
It was it was that red light in the window. That was like moths to the flame. That's why I stopped. Because it looked...
Well, that's your lure. I saw the dancing girls on the side of the building.
Once again, it looked seedy. It looked...
Here we go.
It looked dangerous.
It's going to go in. Oh, nasty.
I thought...
Nasty daddy.
Something of a sexual nature is going on there. I need to investigate.
What age were you then?
I was about 26.
Oh, as early as that.
Yeah. So we're looking at it in the mid-80s, I suppose. And you were probably living... close to.
I was living in North Melbourne.
Because it was just down from the Victoria Market.
That's right. In Peel Street.
How often would you go?
Whenever I wanted to. That's when she came to me and said, will you do the guest star spot, the New Year's Eve program show? That's how I invented the little old, it's time to start living, time to here is a secret I never have told. Maybe you'll understand why. I believe I refuse to grow old. I can stay young till I die. You imagine how they clap like that, the oldies.
And that's where Bev was born.
That's right. No, the stage Bev.
Right.
The public stage Beverly. Beverly was born privately back in the late 50s, but it wasn't used because it wasn't acceptable.
Yeah.
So that when I was living at Fitzroy, the only person who ever called me Bev was Brian Morris, who died of AIDS, a Vietnam soldier. Because I used to come home and go to bed at 4 o'clock. You up there, Bev? Is there any beer in the fridge, you bitch? Get out of bed, you'll get bed sores. So I'd come down and open it, and he'd come in and, off he'd go. He eventually bought a house around the corner. We were great mates, and he had his own freedom. It's just that he went to LA and got the virus.
Sure.
It was dead in 2 years, Yeah. That virus was very rampant in its first impacts. So we've clarified our terms of reference today or not?
I think so.
Well, if you're going to edit it, darling, it doesn't matter how I ramble. You'll use the bits that you like, and you'll say, I don't want those pieces, they're too vulgar.
Is there